They're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Carr moving up here at Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Regis VK and Robert McGinnis, a dead heat at the exit of turn number 2.
Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about set to fire things up right now. Joining me here up on the announcer's tower here in the suites, the Cooper Tire Girls to give us the command to fire things up. Drivers are ready to go. Let's turn it over to the Cooper Tire Girls.
On behalf of everyone at Cooper Tires,
drivers, start your engines.
And with that, the call to fire the engines down on pit lane. The techs from the USF 2000 program walking up and down pit lane, letting the engineers know that they can fire up those engines. Great shot here from the head of the grid, Christian Brooks in the exclusive Autosport red and white machine, the Tatis USF 17. He'll start on the pole for the first time in his young career. Christian, a really interesting story in terms of how he worked his way to the road to Indy. Top driver in North American karting, highly ranked competitor in the karting circuit. Instead of jumping into Formula Car racing, his first step out of karting was into the Red Bull Global Rallycross program. He ran 2 years in the GRC Light Series, really learned to slide the cars around, ran with Dreyer Reibold, Buddy Rice, a former Indy 500 race winner, his mentor, working himself into the Red Bull Global Rallycross program. When that kind of shut down, he moved over to the F4 Series, around the F4 US Championship Series as a race winner there, and then moves himself into the road to Indy with a focus on trying to get to the IndyCar program. Lifelong friends, childhood friends with Colton Herta, so they've been with the Herta family forever. He sees where Colton is already, and that's where Christian wants to be in a couple of years.
That experience should serve Christian well. You mentioned that the different variety of cars that he has driven through his career, making his way through now up to the USF 2000 series. You would think that in a series such as this, and as you move further up the road to Indy and the ladder, where you want stability, you want the car to stick, having the experience of being able to handle a car that slides around will serve you well as you make your way through.
And that's one of the things a lot of the young drivers have to deal with, is sliding the car around, because when they're coming out of karts are underpowered and overtired. So there's not a lot of horsepower, and we got a lot of grip. So they're used to lots of grip. And as you start working your way up the ranks, the horsepower keeps coming up. Yeah, we give it more grip, we give it more downforce, but that horsepower number comes up where you're really having to hold on to the car. And Christian will always have that experience at Rallycross to be able to come back to him. When the rain was coming at New Jersey, he was literally frothing at the mouth to get back out there. He loves it when the car is a bit slippery, and he's going to be a driver to watch over the next number of years. A tremendous young man from California. And again, it shows, I love looking at the top here, it shows our international flavor. Brooks from the U.S., Porto, Brazil, Shields, Australia, Brazil for Barrichello, America for gold, Rasmussen from Denmark. You go down to Matt Round-Garrido from England. Always an international field here in USF 2000 and the entire road to Indy.
Lots of speed during the qualifying. We'll hope to see it during the race as well. We didn't set a race lap record yesterday. We'll see if conditions permit that today.
Field lining up now, coming out of turn number 14 for the first time in his career. It will be Christian Brooks pacing him as they work their way out onto the front straightaway. They'll look to go green. Aaron Likens, the official Road to Indy flagman, on the stand here at start-finish. Nice slow start. Drivers lined up nicely. Brooks will be the first one to punch off once they get into the punch-off zone. They're closing in on now. 5, 4, 3, 2. They're in the zone. Getting ready for the start. Nice slow start. Great jump for Christian Brooks. Green, green, green. That was a tremendous start. First time for Christian Brooks. He'll roll through here, trying to get through cleanly. Big chaos here yesterday. This time, USF 2000 drivers clean and green through turn number 1 and 2. Solid start here now under the bridge. And again, solid start for these drivers here. This Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. But look at this battle here for second spot. We're going to go 3 wide. Down to the bottom goes D'Orlando, throws it in there. D'Orlando's going to get a couple of spots. There was a good battle between Eduardo Barrichello and Kiko Porto as well.
My eyes are open. My mouth is open watching those cars. I can't believe that they were 3 wide heading into corner number 4. They somehow narrowed down but kept it clean going through. Yesterday we had that trouble in corner 1. Great start for the USF 2000 cars here today as they start to find some temperature in those tires and build up the speed. The lap times will start to come down after 2 or 3 laps.
That was a bold move by Michael D'Orlando into turn number 4, and I think he's got to thank those on the outside of him for saying, okay, you know what, I'm not going to pinch down. He tossed it down to the inside of the apex of 4 and was lucky to come out the other side. He goes to P5 though, and D'Orlando knows he needs a good finish here. He wants to cap off the season in style. Brooks will lead the opening lap. Porto slots into second. Barrichello third. Rasmussen up to fourth. Here comes D'Orlando. D'Orlando looking at a move to the inside, down into turn number one, side by side with Rasmussen. D'Orlando, does he finish the pass? A big move to the inside. D'Orlando, the man on the move right now. We'll see when they come back around whether or not that pass was completed by Michael D'Orlando. He put a ton of pressure on Christian Rasmussen in turn number one. Can't quite see it yet. We haven't caught up to the lead group. There they are now. Indeed, he's got the job done, and a battle as well between Reese Gold and Cameron Shields for sixth. So D'Orlando, wasting no time, went to P5 on the opening circuit and attacked the series champion Christian Rasmussen the first time down into turn, or the second time down rather, into turn number one.
5 spots in a lap and a half. That is a great start for Michael D'Orlando. Cameron Shields was the one who lost out on lap number one. He's lost 3 positions from his starting spot. He seemed to get off a little bit slowly from the initial green flag, and see Kiko Porto sort of moved over to help impede his progress into number one.
And you know what? For him starting third behind the leader, he needed to get the best jump he could. Just can't, because normally P3, number 2 is not a great place to start. P3 you can usually tuck in. Shields will go back to work. Drivers rolling again down this front straightaway here at St. Petersburg. Into turn number one again. The leader, Brooks, with a nice little advantage. 1 second thus far. Those of you tuning in here on the Road to Indy TV app or on USF2000.com, an absolutely beautiful day right now. Still a little bit cloudy, and I like that. It's keeping things a bit cooler. 79 degrees here. Humidity, though, 94%. It was a little sticky when we walked out of the hotel this morning, and 94% humidity. We expect that to kind of fade out a little bit throughout the day, but otherwise, that breeze coming off the bay, Todd, definitely makes things a little different.
Working lap number 3, it is Christian Brooks that is still up on top of the field. Kiko Porto second. Eduardo Barrichello now third. Michael D'Orlando has the man that has been on a charge. He's gone from 9th to 4th in the first couple of laps. Series champion Christian Rasmussen rounds out the top 5.
You know, the interesting thing about Christian Brooks, you'll watch his kind of body work throughout the season, and it's very indicative, kind of an example of what we see every year. You've got a rookie driver who came into the program. First couple of weekends, you know, Road America, Mid-Ohio, our first weekends, kind of getting a feel for the car, the team, where he was going to slot in terms of the hierarchy of the actual lineup of drivers. But he's got better and better throughout the season as things have gone on. And as you've watched it happen, he's got faster and faster. Kind of a breakthrough weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Looking at live timing right now, Christian Brooks falling down the order. I don't know that that's him or not, or if it was a transponder issue. We're going to look to see. We're seeing Brooks fall to the tail of the field. We'll try to pick him up if we possibly can. There's Brooks rolling by through there, so I'm going to say that's a transponder issue. I only say that, I kind of stopped you because he had some transponder issues earlier this weekend. I'm like, I saw him go by. So if you're following it at home and seeing Christian Brooks falling to the tail of the field on live timing, no, he is still running out front here. Kiko Porto running in that second spot, Barrichello in third. Barrichello versus Reese Gold. That's the battle for second spot. Here comes Christian Brooks as the leader. Barrichello in third would be able to take over second spot in the points over Reese Gold. Reese has got to get rolling here and get himself back up front. For me, the interesting thing is I want to see whether or not D'Orlando is going to be able to find a way by Barrichello. That's the guy that was on the move. We saw him early. We'll look at lap times. Coming across start finish, it's about 4 car lengths. New fast late race lap for Reese Gold gets down to a 1:12.63, a couple tenths of a second quicker than the leaders early on in this race. 20 lapper for the drivers in USF 2000. .112.266, the race lap record for Alex Barron a couple of years ago. So fast lap of 1:12.638, about 4 tenths of a second off in terms of fast lap. Now remember, used tires, we saw the drivers go through all of their fresh tires. They only had 3 sets of new tires to run in the 4 sessions, both qualifying and both races, Todd. So as fuel goes down, though, it could happen because the temperature, the conditions feel pretty good.
That's exactly what we saw yesterday in the Indy Pro 2000 race. Late in the race, that's when we saw Stingray Robb pop in that last quick lap to set the new track record.
Well, we'll keep a look on it because the lap times are going to keep coming down. Christian Brooks still leading the way, as we said. A good little advantage coming across start-finish. still about 7 or 8 car lengths, but Kiko Porto most definitely trying to reel in Christian Brooks here. Brooks out to the early lead after that track record qualifying run yesterday morning. Still working the first half of this race. Driver going to go around in turn number 1. There's a spin for, I believe, Gil Molina. Had a driver going around, one of the D-Force drivers going around in turn number 1. That driver will be able, I expect, to be able to fire things back up. It was just a light spin. They've got to get the car refired. Car on the outside of row number 1, indeed, refired and continuing. Oh, hard to pick up a number as that driver rocketed on by on us there.
That's the thing we will see probably throughout the rest of the day as well. Turn number 1, it is so wide coming in, and it looks like there is lots of room, and then you quicker than you anticipate, you are into the braking zone, and you've got to get hard on those brakes to make it around that first right-hander and set up for 2 and 3.
Well, and one of the things that these young drivers have to do, there's braking. You want to get on the brakes, but the key to a fast lap is getting off the brakes early, not holding that brake a long time. The brake pressure, sometimes you want to hit it hard, get the thing low, but then you've got to roll up and get the thing rolling back through the corner. And a lot of drivers, as they're working on that and they're trying to get off the brake, they're carrying too much speed through the corner, and then it starts to rotate on them. It's a fine line for these young drivers again. Here, part of this first step on the road to Indy. These are the drivers you'll hear about running in Indy Pro 2000 next year and into Indy Lights for the years gone by. Yeah, Gil Molina was the driver who went around, rookie here. His opening weekend of the USF 2000 program, Gil Molina for D-Force Racing out of Mexico in the number 11. He indeed was the driver that went around in turn number 1.
Looking at timing and storing, it looks like we once again have issues with the transponder of Christian Brooks. He remains out in front. Kiko Porto, Eduardo Barrichello, Michael D'Orlando, and Christian Rasmussen are the top 5 working lap number 7 of 20 here in the USF 2000 series.
Drivers roll through the kink there of turn number 9, over to turn 10. This is out of turn 10, heading back to turn 11. See the gap a little bit further back there from D'Orlando to Rasmussen, about 1.5 seconds now. Here's your leaders here, though. Kiko Porto is most definitely closing up on Christian Brooks. It's about 4 car lengths as they come across start finish as we close in on the halfway point. Christian Brooks still the leader, but Kiko Porto putting good lap times down, starting to get down there, 1:12.340. Porto about a tenth of a second off. Yeah, less than a tenth of a second off a fast race lap record. We may get that here like we got in Indy Pro 2000. And I'll tell you this, Stingray Rob pretty happy with getting both records, track record and race lap record. That was, again, the exclamation point we keep talking about.
He is on his way to the perfect weekend. Yeah. Not just the pole for both races. He has won race number 1, but both track records as well, qualifying and during the race. That would make for the perfect weekend, and multiple exclamation marks on his championship.
100%. Great battle right now here for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Christian Rasmussen, Cameron Shields, and Reese Gold all battling it out now. Right now, this is 3rd, 4th. Here's 5th, 6th, and 7th. Not that far back, though, in the 8th spot either. Or 7th and 8th is Matt Round-Garrido and Jack William Miller. Prescott Campbell with a really good run here as well. Prescott started back in the 16th spot. He has worked his way up to 9th. Excellent run here for Prescott Campbell into the top 10 ahead of Wyatt Prokachik.
Jack William Miller as well, who started back in 12th and has moved up a number of spots. Good run for him.
Anytime you can get 4 or 5 spots against this level of competition is really a win. There's Jack William Miller there. Prescott Campbell trying to reel him in again. Prescott coming off a solid podium finish at New Jersey Motorsports Park in the wet. First time to get to the Road to Indy podium. Prescott has been improving throughout the entire season, now working his way back up into the top 10. Driver in the inside of the racetrack, that might be Gil Molina. I believe that was Gil that they were able to get by. He's waiting for the field to head by so he can get to the tail and get back at it again as the field caught back up to him. He's actually slowing coming down the back straightaway. I wonder if there's an actual issue here. He's slowing all the way coming out of turn number 9. Unless he's just staying to the side of the racetrack to let the entire field roll by. Gil Molina to the inside of the racetrack here. Now it looks to me like he's coming to a stop.
Looks like he's come to a stop, and that's not a good place to be stopped out on the track. Even though you're not directly on the racing line, you do not want to be stopped there.
Yeah, no, I would assume we're going to see a full course yellow here momentarily. Quick look out at our flagman. He has not yet pulled the full course. I'm sure they're on the radio with Gil right now to find out whether or not he can get that car up. No, we are full course yellow. Full course yellow with Christian Brooks as the leader. We have a driver who has stopped between turn 9 and 10. Flags being thrown at start finish. There's the shot there of the driver who has come to a stop out of turn number 9. That driver actually climbing out of the race car. That's going to be, that could be Cameron Shields. For the second straight day, an issue for Cameron Shields. I thought it was Gil Molina. It's Cameron Shields. Oh, again, what a shame for the young driver from Toowoomba, Australia. A horrible end of the season here. He qualified on pole for race number 1, led until an electronic issue, put him on the sidelines. Started third, now finds himself out of the race.
This was just about the same point in the race yesterday that Cameron Shields had those issues. We're just working lap 10 now at the halfway point of the race, and that's about when those issues popped up and ended the day for Cameron Shields. What a heartbreaking weekend.
No doubt about it. He'll put this away and start looking forward to 2021. So Cameron Shields out of the race here, and that's going to put a stop on things. We'll go to the halfway point here under the yellow. Christian Brooks as your leader. We'll give you a top 10 rundown. Brooks led from the get-go. Kiko Porto into second. Eduardo Barrichello third. Michael D'Orlando in fourth spot. Christian Rasmussen fifth. Sixth is Reese Gold. Seventh, Matt Round-Garrido. Eighth, Jack William Miller. Ninth is Prescott Campbell. And 10th is Wyatt Prokachek. So Christian Brooks, your leader. And as they run on the racetrack right now, Eduardo Barrichello, P3, would take away second place in the championship. 342 points for Barrichello, and as they run 334 points for Reese Gold, so the difference would be 8 points between Barrichello and Gold. But man, you see that stuff happen, and you see the car off to the side of the racetrack. You know the team, and you just kind of brace yourself for which driver it's going to be. And when you see it Shields, you're thinking, man, back-to-back days like this where he showed so much promise on the pole, was leading when he had the issue yesterday, didn't get a great start, but was still in the top 10. Just to have 2 DNFs like that, Cameron's going to he's just going to want to put this St. Petersburg weekend behind him and head into 2021.
The AMR safety team on scene to retrieve the car of Cameron Shields. They'll get them tied up and towed back with the Steps vehicles. Hopefully he'll be back quickly and we can return to green flag racing. Some good battles as we saw right throughout the field, right from the start of this race with Christian Brooks, who took the lead or had the pole position on the new track record, kept the lead. Kiko Porto with a nice move to maintain position, and then good battling. Eduardo Barrichello has moved up. Michael D'Orlando has moved up a number of spots from the start. And that head-to-head battle you mentioned with Reese Gold and Eduardo Barrichello for second spot or third spot in the championship.
You have to remember it's the last race of the season. Now, a wreck costs just as much in the first weekend as it does in the last weekend, so you don't want to wreck the car, but it is the end of the season. So a lot of these guys maybe have a little bit more aggression there. D'Orlando was an absolute bull on that opening lap as they came out of turn number 3 over to 4. He made it 3 wide, went down to the bottom of the racetrack. He just sent it into turn number 4, and essentially said, everybody else, you guys are on the outside. I got the apex.
I'm taking this way. You got to go around me.
Figure out what you want to do because I'm going to the apex. And he did, and then was able to settle back in, and then went to work on Christian Rasmussen and made a really good pass down in turn number 1 to complete that pass on him and go to P4. So a really good start for D'Orlando. The battle I've been loving so far, and even though they haven't diced back and forth yet, they're on top of each other, and that is D'Orlando, Rasmussen, and Gold. They were on top of each other, going back and forth. Shields was right in the middle of that fight, too. So Christian Brooks will cruise him around here. Pace car pace, and laps winding down. Put lap number 11 in the books as they come back around here. Brooks, a really strong start there, Todd. If you look at the front straightaway, we have a couple of signs set up for the Road to Indy drivers. It's kind of the window where they can punch off. They've got to go somewhere within that window. And Brooks brought him up nice and slow, got into the window, and held on for a little bit. A lot of guys will punch off as soon as they get to the first cone, the first sign. He waited and he waited and he waited, and then he punched, and he got a huge jump going down into 1.
That's also part of the learning process for these drivers as they're coming through. They are in control of the field when they come out of corner 14, so it is up to them to determine the pace as they head towards the green flag and when they hit the accelerator for the green flag as well. There is a zone. Sometimes you want to go quickly, sometimes you want to go early, other times you want to wait. And a smart, patient move at the start of this race really served him well, gave him lots of clear racetrack going into corner number 1.
You just want to catch everybody off guard. And even if it's just by a split second, it's going to be enough to give you that clear run down into turn 1. If you don't do that, if you bog a little bit or whatever happens, you miss a shift, everybody else stomps on top of you, and that's when we've seen a lot of issues involved with pole sitters who have got down into 1. You make the move to the outside to get a better run through the corner, and if you've given it enough opportunity, drivers will dive down the inside. And it's so dirty on the inside of turn number 1. That's one of the major issues. So the car coming in on the hook for Cameron Shields, probably easier than towing it back, unless there could have been an issue with the gearbox or something like that where it wasn't going to roll the way they wanted it. So they put it up on the back of the hook here. They'll take him straight back to the paddock area. And, of course, Cameron Shields will be with the AMR safety team, bringing him back as well. Tough to see that number 10 come off on the hook like that. It really has been a very impressive weekend nonetheless for Cameron Shields, the young Aussie. Shout out to the family back home. They probably already shut off the broadcast because it's probably 2 or 3 in the morning for them right now, but they always hook up and watch the show here on the Road to Indy TV app or USF2000.com. So we always give a shout out to Suzanne Shields and the family back in Australia.
Looks like it'll take an extra minute or so to get that car off the track and back into the paddock area. We'll do one more lap under caution, and that will complete lap 13. So we'll have 7 to go, hopefully all green towards the checkered flag and the end of the USF 2000 season. This will be the last opportunity for drivers to make up positions, to make up points, and hopefully we'll settle that battle between Eduardo Barrichello and Reese Gold.
Indeed. So the pace truck there, the tow truck had to wait for the field to go by to make the big sweeping turn. There's a gap in the wall as they come out of the straightaway where they head back into the Road to Indy paddocks. So they'll take that car back to the D-Force trailer. You can see them getting back behind the wall, and we'll be able to go green when we come back around. As Todd said, we'll have 13 laps in the books and 7 laps to go when we get back at it. Christian Brooks, leader, managed the start perfectly. We'll see what he does here on the restart as well. Kiko Porto was starting to close up a little bit, turning good lap times there over the last 2 or 3 laps before we went yellow. But we expect this battle to continue. It'll be Brooks, Porto, Barrichello, and D'Orlando, the top 5. Rasmussen in the 6th spot, in the 5th spot. Gold 6th, Round-Garrido 7th, Miller 8th, Campbell 9th, and Brakacic rounding out the top 10. I always like this thought about the mindset now. You know, they've been in that first half of the race. They've been in the groove and just knocking those laps out, figuring out the strategy of who they're battling with. Then everything slows down, and now they press the reset button. They probably talk to their team a little bit on the radio. Now they have to get back into that mindset, that racing mindset. And
back into the rhythm that they would have established in those first 10 or 11 laps as well. All the drivers weaving back and forth, try to get a little heat back in the tires, make sure that they are cleaned off. There is no excess debris on the tires as they come for the restart. Pace car making the final turn through 13 and 14. Field will once again be under the control of Christian Brooks.
So Brooks will roll them through here, coming through 13 and 14. Crucial start here for Brooks if he's trying to score that first win. He gets on the throttle early, gets that thing turned, and boom, back on the throttle. Started a bit early in 13. Had to do a little bit of a correction in the middle of the turn 14 corner. Let's see if that pays off for him. Kiko Porto's got a really good run here as well. Porto's going to look maybe to the inside of the racetrack. No, Brooks is going to be able to get through turn 1 cleanly. Porto right behind him. Eduardo Barrichello there as well. Let's see if D'Orlando's as aggressive here on the restart as he was on the opening circuit. Let's see if he tries that move down in. They're keeping the cars to the inside. Brooks is going to hold the spot. Indeed, Barrichello going about a car width to the right to be able to hold off Michael D'Orlando, because we know how aggressive D'Orlando was. The same goes for Reese Gold. I think maybe Matt Round-Garrido might have been able to get by. Jack William Miller to the inside as well in turn 9, so Miller aggressive. Jack William Miller, no one's ever going to accuse him of not being aggressive and going for a move. He just got to the inside of Reese Gold following through on Matt Round-Garrido, so move a couple of spots. I want to say that Prescott Campbell got by as well. So Reese Gold getting hung out to dry on the outside of turn number 8 and 9. That's not the place to be.
This is the opportunity that these drivers are taking advantage. The field slows down, the field bunches up. all the battles are tight, and when you have that restart, it is your opportunity to gain positions. A great move by Cameron Brooks to off the start. Instead of waiting, he hit accelerator early this time, and it worked out well for him. Kiko Porto, though, looking to the inside of corner number 1.
Kiko Porto trying to fill the mirrors of Christian Brooks. Top 4 drivers lined up. And indeed, got a good run out of turn number 14. Did Kiko Porto was able to look to the inside of Brooks. Going to fill that mirror as they get ready to turn into the corner. Here's a big defensive move coming out of turn number 3 as well. Pick that up when we come to turn 4 or not. Drivers coming through 4 and 5 now. There's a continuing battle with Rasmussen as Matt Round-Garrido's the driver on the move now. Round-Garrido has put that Pabst Racing number 23 machine right on the rear wing of the new champion in the USF 2000 program, Christian Rasmussen. Matt Round-Garrido looking for a good finish here. Started, I believe, in the 7th position. Worked his way now up into 5th or 6th. Kiko Porto trying to put all the pressure here on Christian Brooks. Brooks, though, of course, trying to see if he can't stretch away a little bit. Porto looking for his 2nd win, trying to sweep the weekend. Brooks looking for that first road to Indy victory. Here they come down the straightaway again. Porto to within 3 or 4 car lengths. Wants to get that draft down into turn number 1. Brooks, though, looking good. Porto again looking to the inside of the mirror.
5 laps remaining in the 20 laps. It's Kiko Porto who is trying to pressure Christian Brooks. As Rob mentioned, sweeping the weekend. Got his first victory yesterday, and it's amazing. A little confidence boost, and that will carry you a long way, and maybe even the sweep on the weekend.
And really, it's been a strong weekend all told for the D-Force drivers as well. They were 1st and 2nd, of course, in qualifying. They were 2nd and 3rd in qualifying for race number 2. They really have a good setup here with the USF 17. And again, after a couple of wins for Indy Pro 2000, D-Force Racing adding that USF 2000 triumph yesterday with Kiko Porto looking to back it up. As we said, big slide for Jack William Miller coming out of turn number 9. How did he not make contact with the left rear? He had that thing all sideways coming out of turn number 9. He is hustling the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports number 6, trying to see if he can't get by Round-Garrido.
Great run for Jack William Miller, who started back in the 12th position up at the start and currently running 7th. And he is pushing in these final 5 laps.
Christian Rasmussen able to get back around Round-Garrido to take over that 5th position again. But Kiko Porto a little bit closer again with 4 laps to go. Porto, big close here on the brakes into turn number 1. Brooks, though, through cleanly still. What a fight. Christian Brooks just trying to be perfect, hit every mark. The key for him, I think he's pretty good through the rest of the racetrack. It's coming out of turn 13 and 14. He's got to be able to get to the power quickly to be able to make sure that he's not going to get challenged down into turn number 1. For Brooks, that's the key part of this racetrack. Porto, the same thing. He's just trying to take advantage of any particular issue. If there's a bobble on Christian Brooks, Porto needs to be close enough to try to capitalize.
Cars circulating back around the twisty part of the course around the back now. Christian Brooks still out front. Kiko Porto, though, doing everything he can to, as Rob mentioned, try to fill the mirrors, move a little bit from one side to the other. Remind the driver that you are behind him. Try to take their focus from the front of the car and hitting those brake markers and paying a little more attention to the car behind you. That's when mistakes happen.
The key is applying constant pressure. Constant and maybe some ever-changing pressure. Try some different positions. Put your car in a different mirror set. Like go to the left side, go to the right side. Maybe fake a little bit of a dive move to the inside. Whatever it may be, do whatever you can to keep that driver knowing that you're close.
And Kiko Porto did climb a little closer in that last lap. The gap has come down just a little bit as we get down to the final few laps of the USF 2020 season.
Crazy to say that. We tried to start this season 7 months ago here at St. Petersburg. We had one practice session for all 3 rungs on the road to Indy. We shut things down. Everybody flew home on Saturday. We are back here, though, 7 months later to cap off the season. We'll be back here in just over 4 months to start the 2021 season as well, Todd. But yeah, this is it for the USF 2000 drivers. Their final race of the 2020 season. And we're watching a good scrap. And one of those Formula car scraps where it's just 2 drivers battling it out, neither wanting to make a mistake. We're not going back and forth on passes. This is just 2 drivers battling each other.
That shot we just switched from was the one we were admiring yesterday. You could just see how the cars are trying to go one direction and the driver needs them to go to the right to make it through the next complex of corners.
Yeah, over the crown of the road there into turn number 9 is so tough. So we'll put lap number 18 in the books, 2 to go this time by. Brooks stretching out his advantage here. He's got at least 2 more car lengths on Kiko Porto. And to be honest, Barrichello's closing up a little bit as well. Drivers working their way out of turn 14 onto the long straightaway here at St. Petersburg, the airport runway and the other weekend. But of course here for the second time in 2020, they've transformed it into this Grand Prix of St. Petersburg racetrack. Christian Brooks, the Californian, trying to grab his first win in the road to Indy. It's been an impressive learning curve and a run throughout the season for Brooks. Kind of the breakout being a podium finish at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Really started to make things work from there. From then on was really one of the guys that we talked about in the top 5 throughout the remainder of the season. Brooks is going to see the white flag if he works his way back around. Kiko Porto relentless in his pressure in the number 12 D-Force Racing entry. Exclusive Autosport looking for their first USF 2000 win since 2017 with Parker Thompson. See what kind of a lead he's got here again coming out of the final corner. Looks like about 4 car lengths coming across start-finish for Christian Brooks. Down into the braking zone of turn number 1. He's through cleanly as the rest of the field finally across start finish.
Right now it's just his final lap. Make sure you hit those break points one last time. The gap is good between you and second place runner Kiko Porto. One more lap and you'll score that first victory. The perfect way to end the season.
Indeed, knocking off the points. And remember too, he's the driver that got involved. One of the drivers was involved in the wreck in the opening corner of race number 1 yesterday. So this would be that contrast from the black to the white to be able to really come back after heartbreak yesterday to potentially get a victory here today. Kiko Porto not done, though, with the pressure on Christian Brooks. They'll work their way to turn number 9 through the kink to turn 10. Brooks has got to get through a couple more corners to get his first road to Indy victory. Porto, great run second half of the season for Kiko as well. The young Brazilian has been one to watch. They'll work their way out of turn number 10. The very quick 11 and 12, then back onto the brakes into turn number 14. As I said, it's been since 2017 the exclusive Autosports has tasted victory in USF 2000. Christian Brooks has brought them back to the top step of the podium. Brooks wins the final race of the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship Series here in 2020. The American, the victory over Kiko Porto. 3.3 seconds? I don't think so. Maybe not quite that much. Live timing maybe a little off here. Kiko Porto in second spot. Eduardo Barrichello third. Michael D'Orlando fourth. What a good run for D'Orlando. He was kind of the guy to watch, Todd, over the first couple of laps because he was on a move. He gets to P4. Christian Rasmussen caps off the season with a top 5 finish. He's your champion in USF 2000. He'll go to Indy Pro next year. Matt Round-Garrido ends up in 6th. Jack William Miller 7th. Prescott Campbell, a great run to 8th. 9th was Reese Gold. Wyatt Prokacek in 10th. To unpackage it all, Brooks with the victory, finally able to get that win after the disappointment from yesterday. Eduardo Barrichello in third is going to take second place overall in the points championship as well. Reese Gold's going to be third, but Christian Rasmussen caps off his championship season with a P5 finish in the final race of the year.
Yeah, a bit of a difficult race for Reese Gold, who showed an awful lot of speed through this weekend, but seemed to fall back just a little bit on that restart that we had in the one yellow caution period in the middle of the race. Lost a couple of positions, and that ended up costing him in the end.
Little shot of the exclusive Autosport team there celebrating after what's been an up and down season for them. Great run for Christian Brooks, a flawless run from start to finish. He ends up scoring the victory here today. Again, Kiko Porto and Eduardo Barrichello, those two Brazilian friends, will be on the podium once again, and that's where we'll go right now. We've, of course, got IndyCar warm-up coming up. Todd, I'm going to head down to Tatis Victory Lane. Final time for 2020 for USF 2000.
Rob Howden will be down to hand out the hardware as Christian Brooks is the winner in our first race of the day here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg.
The best way to describe the race was just hanging on. I mean, I just didn't want to make mistakes around this track. As you guys have known and seen in many years in the past, one mistake can lead to the wall, and the wall is not a place you want to be from the lead. So I was pushing it as hard as I could, just making sure I was getting good runs onto the straightaways so they couldn't get me into any of the passing zones. And yeah, I mean, it was a really long one. So I think I was checking out just before that restart, and the restart brought him back to me a little bit. Just made sure he was in my mirrors the whole time, made sure if he was close enough to even try, I'd just turn in a bit early. make sure he wasn't going to get down my inside. And the exclusive Autosport guys gave me a perfect car. I mean, really, it went the track record yesterday for qualifying too. And I mean, what more can you really ask? They gave me the best car I could ask for. It led from start to finish, and I'm so glad I could put exclusive Autosport back on the box.